Good evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum, and you're watching the Theo Nightly Video for the 17th of May here in 2022. And it is all about retail. Retail sales came in this morning. We'll take a look at some of in tonight's video. A few pinpoint names: Home Depot, Wal-Mart, and then Target and Lowe's. But let's start with retail sales. In the pre-market session, we had retail sales data. If you take out the food and the energy prices, those are up 0.6%. If you add them back, general retail sales, that was up 0.9%. Nonetheless, we had earnings from Walmart and Home Depot, and they went in opposite directions. So quick note, when you're looking at Thinkorswim, you can always go inside the Market Watch tab, and you can take a look at the calendar, and you'll see exactly where the Econo Day, or at least the economic events. And if you take that off, you can look at the earnings. So in today's session here on the 17th, there were, generally speaking, about 7 stocks pre-market. Some of those were big ones, including Home Depot, and 39 will report after the close. You can always take a look at what names are reporting if you have positions on in those and what will take place the remainder of the week. But let's focus tonight's video on Home Depot and Walmart, and then Target and Lowe's, because that's your retail name. Retail sales in the morning, retail earnings in the afternoon. So Home Depot, actually, we can also go in comparing what the reports were. Not only in the Analyze tab, when you go into the economic data, actually go into fundamentals, and that's going to be the earnings on the stock, and earnings is right here. So as you look at the stocks, you'll have the availability to go into the news report to see quickly what the news was. Of course, you can see all the headlines that took place throughout the day on Home Depot, or if you go back to Walmart or the other stocks, just looking at those reports. So from that news report, we see Home Depot and Walmart, and there was a split. Home Depot generally beat the expectations. Walmart did not. Walmart talked about broader inflation. That's the big theme of 2020. But that it's affecting the profits within the shares of Walmart. That's the big headline news. So playing into the Walmart position, or playing into the Walmart logic here, they continue to have their earnings report. So how customers are handling inflation: Walmart down, largest decrease, and so on and so forth. All the headline news is curated here. If you would like to go any further on the depth of the earnings and what was reported. But now we're going to look at the stock. So we'll pull the weekly perspective up on the right and the daily on the left. Starting with Walmart, that's the key name. It is the weakest stock in the S&P 100 by far. Behind it is Target and the Kraft Heinz food. In fact, let's broaden the theme out to talk about staples. That's the one sector at the moment, with about an hour to go in the session here, that is down on the session by 1%. The strongest in today's market is the materials, but again, back to the retail and discretionary sector. Walmart, strangely, technically, is going to fall under the consumer discretionary. And that means, despite if we go into a recession, we still have to shop. So stocks like that would include Philip Morris, Procter & Gamble, Colgate-Palmolive, Estee Lauder, makeup, and Pepsi and Coca-Cola, to name others, Monster Beverage. So despite everything, we still have to drink and eat and everything else that goes into the consumer staples. But Walmart does fall under that category, although I would consider it, and most would consider, a retail name, which includes Home Depot and, of course, Nike, and there's Target and the others. Back to the chart. It is in a trading range, and the share price fell from just above those highs all the way back to the lows. So Walmart is just a few moments away and a few prints away from coming up into one of our stocks that are making new 52-week lows. Nevertheless, this trading range exists between 130 per share and about 150 or 155. On the other hand, we'll go back to the days to earnings. Home Depot had the opposite. It actually beat expectations and had a little of a positive report. So again, this is jumps on earnings, same-store sales growths, And that's just a little surprise that the market, for the most part, and the analysts were not expecting, but the sales were reported to be better. And the stock rallied. On the intraday chart, we can see that playing off. Volatile tape jumped up, pulled back in, and is now trading at that 300 level. Where is that on the big perspective? That's already had a sell-off. Home Depot being a pure retail name, right there with Lowe's, right? Home Depot and Lowe's. And we think of Target and Wal-Mart to be a little similar, or Costco would be another stock that would be in a retail type sector. But nonetheless, Home Depot is a big box, a retail name, and it is continuing the downtrend with the general market, despite the earnings being a little stronger than expected. Now, those are already reported. Coming up is going to take place tomorrow morning. That will be Target shares. Where is Target at the moment? Also downtrending, but is generally in a sideways trading range. Key price levels to focus would be 210 per share and about 250. And behind that will be Lowe's. And Lowe's does continue its downtrend right there with Home Depot, right? Home Depot and Lowe's, similar type company, similar type price pattern, and we would say similar type of trades would be on the short side or the bear side of a downtrending market. And that pullback is coming from the 260. Rather than being a sideways trading range, that is better described as a downtrend. That series of lower lows and lower highs, which is not necessarily seen until recently in Walmart. And the reason I say that, Walmart is a little more of a sideways range as opposed to anything that is trending. Nonetheless, when the market does overvalued, that favors the short side of the market, and to the lower bounds favored the long side of the market, assuming we get mean reversion. Lowe's, again, reporting the earnings, and of course Target is down right there in sympathy with Walmart shares. That's the broader picture. That's where we're watching into the future. And if you want to take a look at the expected move logic, that would be right here for the earnings play. Looking at Target, that's about 89% on the implied volatility, so $14 expected move, roughly speaking, up or down. And right there with Lowe's, 93%. That's looking at the Friday expiration. So it's going to have a little more premium than just the earnings report tomorrow on Wednesday, but nonetheless, $13 up and down. So if you want to play a butterfly or play a strategy within that logic, that is where the price or the expected move for earnings would be. Walmart shares generally exceeded their expected move with that surprise bearish motion. And that could always happen. The expected move simply shows a probability of what the expected move for the market, at least in terms of implied volatility, could see that trade without those bounds. So Target and Lowe's will be in focus for tomorrow's morning session and, of course, into the trading session on Wednesday. Stepping outside of the stocks that are in play, the retail sector, we'll look at a few more. The retail consumer discretionary is going to generally be up here. And of course, Walmart falls in the category of the consumer staples. So that is something else to watch in today's session, that staples are getting a sell side activity or sell swing, despite the general market being bullish. And that is, to an extent, either short covering or at least rotation or sector rotation or money flow out of staples and generally back into, at least for now, some of the financial names, which are up in today's session. Technology names, of course, XLK, and the biggest one, XLB, in today's session. That continues a sideways trading range as well. So outside of that, a quick look at where else the weakness is coming from in today's session. Kraft Heinz Foods, McDonald's, there's Costco, Duke Energy, Salesforce.com, and a few others. Where is the strength? The strength, generally speaking, is in financials, which includes Citigroup. We look at Capital One Financial and a few others, down to Bank of America and a few others. But strength also is coming from Boeing, FedEx, Abbott Laboratories, and Tesla. Also DuPont, Denors, and NVIDIA. That's giving a little boost to the NASDAQ, but as we push toward the final hour, the strongest market is and remains in today's session, the Russell, or through the tradable ETF, which is the IWM. And that's where the strength is. And by strength, I just mean it's up 2.5%, where the other indices are up about 1.5%. And the other update will be crude oil is down 1.7. It continues its general uptrend, but nonetheless is into a resistance point and has a good shot to trade down from 115. And always in focus is the bond market. I like to look at TLT or trade within TLT, but the same logic will play within ZN or ZB. And that is another bear flag or continuation downtrend of this daily chart. And before we conclude the video, as we look at retail sales, because this is playing into the broader picture, the yield rising. That yield, the 10-year Treasury note, is right back into that 30 on this chart, which is 3%. So watch this closely as this holds a ceiling of resistance or on a breakthrough could lead to additional rally or additional higher action in the yield. So as always, be careful and safe. A lot going on, still volatility in the mix, but retail sales, at least in terms of where we are right now, are in play. Once again, that's going to be, for the moment, Home Depot, Walmart reported, Target, Lowe's coming up tomorrow, Cisco right behind it. As always, be careful and safe. This is Corey Roseland with tonight's Theo video update for May 17th, 2022.